Have you ever felt like you're being secretly trained? Not in a weird, conspiratorial way, but in a way that's slowly changing how your brain works, making it harder and harder to focus on things that matter. It's a kind of invisible training, and it's happening to all of us every single day through the apps on our phones and the content we consume. This isn't just about losing a few minutes to scrolling. It's about fundamentally rewiring our motivation system. This invisible training operates on a simple, powerful principle: reward conditioning. Think of it like training a dog. You tell it to sit, it sits, you give it a treat. Sit, treat, sit, treat. The dog learns that the action of sitting leads to a reward. Our brains are being trained in the exact same way. We swipe, we get a little burst of something interesting. We tap, we see a funny video. Swipe, reward. Tap, reward. Our brains are learning that the tiniest, most effortless action imaginable leads to a hit of pleasure, a little spike of dopamine. And that brings us to the first major problem. We are getting dopamine without effort. Historically, that feeling of reward, that dopamine release, was tied to accomplishing something. You hunted for food, you felt good. You built a shelter, you felt good. You finished a difficult project, you felt amazing. The effort was part of the equation. But now, we can get that same chemical reward just by flicking our thumb. Our brain is learning a dangerous lesson. Why bother with hard work when pleasure is so easy to get? It's like getting the prize without running the race. Over time, this erodes our ability to pursue long-term goals that require sustained effort. The easy, instant rewards are just too tempting. This leads directly to the second problem: baseline collapse. Imagine your normal level of happiness and satisfaction is a flat line, your baseline. When you do something difficult and achieve a goal, you get a big spike of dopamine, and it feels great. Then you return to your baseline. But when you're constantly getting these tiny, effortless dopamine hits from your phone, you're not getting big spikes. Instead, you're just slightly raising your baseline with a constant drip of stimulation. The problem is, your brain adapts. This new, slightly elevated level becomes your new normal. Now, regular life, without the constant digital stimulation, feels boring, dull, and even a little depressing. Your baseline has collapsed. Activities that used to bring you joy, like reading a book or going for a walk, no longer seem to register. They don't provide enough stimulation to compete with the digital world. This is why you might feel restless or anxious when you're not looking at a screen. Your brain is craving the level of stimulation it has become accustomed to. The third angle to this is what I call short effort loops. Our entire digital environment is designed around incredibly short feedback cycles. You post a photo, and within seconds, you get likes and comments. You play a mobile game, and every few seconds there's a new level, a new power-up, a new reward. You swipe through short-form videos, and every 10 to 15 seconds, there's a new story, a new punchline, a new dopamine hit. Our brains are getting trained to expect rewards almost instantaneously. The loop between action and reward is shrinking to mere seconds. This makes it incredibly difficult to engage in activities with long effort loops, like learning an instrument, writing a book, or building a business. These things take months or even years to provide a significant reward. When your brain is conditioned for a 10-second reward loop, how can it possibly tolerate a 10-month reward loop? It can't. We lose patience, we get discouraged, and we give up, retreating back to the world of instant gratification. Then comes the fourth, and perhaps most insidious, mechanism: stimulation stacking. This is when we layer multiple forms of stimulation on top of each other to reach that high dopamine threshold our brains now crave. Have you ever found yourself scrolling through social media while watching a movie? Or listening to a podcast while playing a video game? Or even putting on a YouTube video in the background while you work? That's stimulation stacking. A single activity, like just watching a movie, is no longer stimulating enough. Our brains, so used to a fire hose of content, demand more. So we stack another layer of stimulation on top. This absolutely decimates our ability to give our full attention to any one thing. We are training ourselves to be perpetually distracted. We are not fully engaged in the movie, and we are not fully engaged in our scrolling. We are just in a state of fractured, partial attention, chasing a level of stimulation that real, focused life can never provide. Over time, all of these factors combine to create the fifth problem: an identity shift. You start to see yourself differently. You might start to believe, I'm just a person who can't focus, or I have a short attention span. or I'm not the kind of person who can stick with long-term goals. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because you believe you can't focus, you don't even try to engage in activities that require deep work. You default to the easy, distracting behaviors that reinforce this negative identity. You're not just being trained to act a certain way, you're being trained to be a certain type of person, a distracted, impatient person who is incapable of sustained effort. The invisible training has become part of who you are. So many of us realize this is happening and try to fight back, but we often make a few key mistakes. The first is the all-or-nothing approach. We declare we are going on a complete digital detox, deleting all our apps and swearing off screens forever. This is like trying to go from eating junk food every day to a strict diet of only kale and water. It's too drastic. The withdrawal is too intense, and we almost always relapse, often feeling even worse about ourselves than when we started. The second mistake is focusing on willpower alone. We think if we just try harder to resist temptation, we'll succeed. But willpower is a finite resource. When your environment is perfectly engineered to break your willpower, you're fighting a losing battle. You can't out-willpower the thousands of engineers whose job it is to keep you hooked. So what do? We need to reframe the problem. This isn't a battle of willpower or a moral failing. It's a problem of your environment and your conditioning. You don't need more discipline. You need a better strategy. You need to stop fighting your brain and start working with it. Instead of trying to eliminate technology, we need to change our relationship with it. Instead of relying on willpower, we need to architect our environment to make focus the path of least resistance. Here's the most practical takeaway you can start with today. Don't go for a full detox. Instead, practice stimulation fasting. Choose one activity you normally stack and do it by itself. For example, the next time you eat a meal, just eat. No phone, no TV, no podcast. Just you and your food. Notice the flavors, the textures. It might feel incredibly boring or even uncomfortable at first. That's a sign of withdrawal. That's your brain telling you the baseline has collapsed. But by sticking with it, even for just 10 minutes, you are beginning the process of retraining your brain. You're teaching it that a single, real-world activity can be engaging on its own. Start small. Maybe it's a 5-minute walk with no headphones, or 10 minutes of reading a physical book with your phone in another room. These small acts of monotasking are the first step in reclaiming your attention and rebuilding your brain's ability to find joy in normal life. This is a deep topic, and we've only scratched the surface of how to fight back against this invisible training. We've talked about what's happening to our brains, but the next step is building a complete system to reverse the damage. In my next video, we are going to dive into a step-by-step blueprint for a dopamine reset. We'll cover specific techniques to redesign your digital environment, strategies to rebuild your focus endurance, and how to find deep satisfaction in long-term goals again. It's all about taking back control from the algorithms. So if you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. Thank you for watching.